up, y'all? Welcome back to the Ashfire Show, where you come to
Vibe with the tribe.
You're good, man. You're good. You're on that. My name is Malik Harris.
My name is Makito Chini.
And we are jumping into Age of Sigmar today.
Woo!
For those of you who've been here for a long time, we just got into doing all the Total War, Warhammer trailers, like 120, 130, somewhere within there.
Yeah.
We went through all those trailers of 1, 2, and 3. We've already done like Warhammer,
40K.
Jesus Christ. Warhammer 40K stuff. That's what we originally started jumping into lore-wise. And now we're completely immersed. Obviously everything from books, painting miniatures. We did like a little vlog type thing. So yeah, we're definitely pretty deep in this whole thing for those of you who are new. So Age of Sigmar, lore-wise, we've only went through a couple videos. We kind of did like a general, I think, breakdown. We went through the factions. And now we're jumping into this, I guess, general overview, and then we're going to do a timeline video next. So if you don't want to wait for videos, you want to get them sooner, you can check out our Patreon, you can check out YouTube memberships. Now that summer's over, we're going to be like, kind of like mass diving into like the fantasy and Warhammer 40K. So definitely check out those spots if you want videos quicker. So yeah,
For sure.
That's all I got, Jim Bob.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into this. Yeah, let's jump into this, and then we can see. We'll talk about more stuff afterwards. This is from Thoradin's Tales. I think I've watched two other videos from this. I think maybe we did a reaction to one, but the other one I just kind of watched separately. So.
My name is Thoradin, and I love Warhammer. I love the world, I love the miniatures, I love the game, and I especially love Age of Sigmar. And seeing as how A, I'm always trying to convert more people to the Holy Church of G-Dubs, and B, Warhammer is a bit tricky to get into at the best of times, I thought I'd do what I do best and share with all you beautiful people the gift of knowledge and make a little beginner's guide to the world of Age of Sigmar. However, first a caveat. Seeing as how this is very much meant as a beginner's guide, I'm not going to cover absolutely everything. Especially as you get into recent lore, there are an absolute assload of characters and factions, and I'm at least trying to keep it as light as possible.
Cool. Oh, that's a goblin right here. I was like, wait a minute, what is this? There's so much stuff in the fantasy world that I still have yet to see or even know about. It seems like it's a lot smaller planet, you know what I mean, compared to like all the different planets out in 40K, but
yeah.
Every time I see a video, I see something new, like fucking, what is this, living mushrooms? Crazy. Alright.
Assload of characters and factions, and I'm at least trying to keep it as light as possible. So I won't get too much into the old fantasy setting, I won't go over every single battle or recent event, this will just be to put down the groundwork, if you will. Got that? Alright, neato. Happy to hear it, you can have a jelly bean, and let's get right into it. So once upon a time, somewhere, there was emptiness. The void between realms and stars. And it was in this space that Dracovium, giant dragon made of stars and god beast de jour, was just having his afternoon nap when he suddenly got absolutely blasted by this giant light in the sky. This understandably caught his attention, and he immediately flew over to investigate the light, only to discover that it was actually a comet. A twin-tailed comet, in fact. But not just any twin-tailed comet, but one with a guy on it.
Wait, what the fuck?
Tell me why this beginning part almost sounds like League of Legends.
I know, and the fact that he showed Aurelian Soul, I was thinking that in my head, and I was like, I'm not going to pause, I'll write it down. Also, this beginning just seems kind of wild. Even his background colors and stuff like that, a lot of it just feels like League of Legends. I noticed even like those little miniature characters. I'm going to have to look into his channel a little bit more, because now I'm starting to feel like clearly he's a League of Legends fan. And I've noticed that there are a lot of League of Legends and Warhammer like crossover fans like that know about each or are really invested in each. So I know they have this, writers have left from one to the other, but they don't feel like they should be connected. Like people would, you know what I'm saying? Like they would be the same fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we've done it, but yeah, interesting.
Unsurprisingly, riding a giant blazing comet isn't exactly conducive to one's health. So Dracovion used his magic dragon powers to revive the guy from the brink of death, who told him that he was none other than Sigmar Heldenhammer, and that he is, or rather was, once upon a time a god. So, incredibly long story short, Sigmar had once been one of many gods of the so-called world that was, or Old World, which was your typical fantasy land of dwarves, elves, orcs, and humans. Now, things had been pretty neato down there for a while until one day they caught the attention of the Chaos Gods, a pantheon of 4 demonic deities consisting of Khorne, god of murder, war, bloodshed, and being really angry all the time. Slanesh, god of excess and unspeakable desires. Nurgle, god of death, disease, pestilence, and life. And Tzeentch, god of change, magic, and being a tricksy little shithead, who all collectively decide.
Okay, I was gonna let this pass by, but I just need to confirm something for my own.
Oh, you need to confirm something.
That I wasn't just tripping.
Change, magic, and being a tricksy little shithead, who all collectively decided to ruin everyone's day and kick down the metaphorical.
These references are crazy.
Greetings.
Whoa. These references are crazy. The fact that I know so many of that was from JoJo's Bizarre Circus for sure. But the fact that I know so many of these references is kind of concerning. So now I feel like we're definitely going to have to check more about this page.
Until one day they caught the attention of the Chaos Gods, a pantheon of 4 demonic deities consisting of Khorne, god of murder, war, bloodshed, and being really angry all the time. Slanesh, god of excess and unspeakable desires. Nurgle, god of death, disease, pestilence, and life. And Tzeentch, god of change, magic, and being a tricksy little shithead, who all collectively decided to ruin everyone's day and kick down the metaphorical sandcastle. And with sandcastle, I mean blowing up the earth. So, after letting Sigmar trauma dump for a while, Dracothian was just a bit like, damn, that sucks, buddy, and offered to bring Sigmar to this place called Azir, where he promised things were a little bit more chill. Sigmar, with not much better to do, was just kinda like, aight, and from that day onwards the two became the best of friends. Now, Azir is one of the 8 mortal realms, which are the main setting of AOS, with each realm being a sort of separate plane of reality, which are each associated with a different flavor of magic. You have...
Okay, let me look at this map one more time. I don't think I've ever seen a map of the world. Okay, so for you guys who have went through all this lore and stuff before. Oh wait, the eye. Is this the exact same world as? No, this is Age of Sigmar world. Is this a different world than the old world? Do they have completely different layouts, or do they have the same layout? Because I know that one was like rebranding in a way. Yeah, when they did like Old World and stuff like that. But it's so tricky because I know the board game setting and them separating Age of Sigmar and the Old World and why they did that. But when you play Total War Warhammer, is this the same map or is this a separate map? That's the question I'm looking for. Because right now it looks like a different map, but I'm like, maybe it's just because how it's laid out, all the colors and the highlights, highlighted text and stuff like that.
Are each associated with a different flavor of magic. You have Akshi, the realm of fire, Hayish, the realm of light, Ulgu, the realm of shadow, Chiron, the realm of life, Kamon, the realm of metal, Shyish, the realm of death, Gur, the realm of beasts, and the ever-mentioned Azir, the realm of heavens. However, while these realms might sound pretty straightforward on paper, they are a bit more creative and bizarre than you might think. When you hear about the realm of fire, you might imagine that it's all just a massive lava sea with fire everywhere. And while not completely inaccurate, you have to think a bit bigger than that. For example, you might have forests where the leaves are made of solid flame and the grass is steaming. Or you might have a perfectly normal piece of land where nothing is out of the ordinary except the terrain is just a bit hot. Similarly, the realm of metal is not just a giant cube of steel, but might have plains where the grass is made of gold and the sky shimmers with 1,000 silver stars. Anything is possible in the realms, with the only limit being your own crazy imagination. But back to Sigmar. With plenty of time on his hands, he decided to do a bit of sightseeing. Travel the realms, try out local cuisine, absolutely bash in the skull of anything that looked at him even remotely nasty, the usual. And much to his surprise, he actually ran into some familiar faces. As it turns out, he wasn't the only god who had survived the destruction of the old world, and he met up with folks like Alariel, goddess of life, and trees. Don't you?
Oh, he's not the only god that... Okay. It all just clicked for me. They literally all came from the old world, and then yeah. So I guess I need to get the plot of the old world to understand like what happened in the ending of all of that.
The trees. Grungni, dwarven god of being the dwarfiest dwarf that ever dwarfed. Tyrion and Teclis, twin gods of supremely silly hats. Gorka Morka, or god of having a right proper fight. Nagash, god of death and supreme prick. And several more that aren't that important and no one likes. Trust me. Now, familiar obviously isn't the same as friendly per se. In fact, Sigmar had come to blows with several of these gods in the past, and especially that creep Nagash. But they kinda stayed their hand, since for all of its majestic weirdness, the mortal realms were actually still pretty empty of people. You had the occasional tribal outpost or dwarven fort, but that was kinda it. So while some of the gods probably really wanted to start throwing out Yakuza heat actions, they also saw that doing so wouldn't get much work done, and it was better to play nice, even if just for a bit. And like this, the alliance known as the Pantheon of Order was born, with elves, dwarves, yumis, and even some orcs and spooky undead skeletons working side by side to create majestic civilizations and cities. And for a time, life was good. You had city-sized workshops filled with craftsmen creating the best tools and gear imaginable. You had magic towers that rose up into the skies where wizards researched the arcane secrets of the realms. You had majestic palaces where nobles and artists gathered to discuss the fine arts, and bustling taverns where people of all walks of life gathered, sung karaoke together, and got absolutely sloshed. It was all a really cool and fun time.
Yeah.
A little bit more modern.
So those chaos gods I mentioned earlier that caused the destruction of the old world, they were very much still around. And like the absolute hooligans they are, they were very excited to come crash the party once again. Now, the chaos gods have their own little realm of chaos, but as they didn't have an actual foothold in the mortal realms, they were kinda stuck there and couldn't do anything too crazy. But they are a manipulative bunch of bastards if nothing else, and over time slowly wormed their way into the hearts of the realm's inhabitants. For example, even though the Pantheon of Order had secured much of the realms, they were still pretty dangerous at the best of times. You still had a need for soldiers and warriors whose martial prowess and acts on the battlefield attracted the attention of Khorne, who in turn pushed them ever onto greater acts of bloodlust and murder. While those who looked a bit too deeply into the arcane secrets might come face to ever-changing Void of a Face with Tzeentch, who was very happy to share his forbidden stash of knowledge with anyone who asked and was willing to pay the price. So over the centuries they kept whispering and whispering, offering people power, glory, riches, free Genshin pools, Alariel feed and whatever else their heart desired. And the corruption kept building and building until reality itself literally couldn't handle it anymore, and with a snap the veil broke and cities and civilizations that had been at the peak of their power crumbled all across the realms, swallowed whole by demons or the corrupted followers of chaos, and led by none other than Archaon, the ever-chosen, Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse, destroyer of the world that was, and overall a pretty cool dude. And the Pantheon of Order? Well, they were kinda caught with their pants down, as their alliance had started crumbling a bit. Tyrion, Teclis, and some of the other elven gods had actually already left by this point to give Slaanesh a good beating, since they ate a lot of elven souls when the old world was destroyed, and they'd very much like those back, thank you very much. While Gorka Morka and the orcs had gotten sick of following orders and just wanted to crump any git they wanted. And with the literal actual demons of hell banging on the door, most of the other gods had slightly more important things to work on than return Sigmar's calls. And all of this caused things to get out of control very quickly. Now, Sigmar and his mates, despite kind of falling apart, did still put up a very good fight. Sigmar is kind of a baller, so whenever he participated in a battle, he usually came out on top. Problem being that it wasn't just a battle. It was hundreds of battles happening simultaneously across different planes of reality. Sigmar might completely crush some poor greater demon to paste, but it didn't achieve much in the grand scheme of things when 10 others were causing a stir, as it were, the next realm over. But he obviously couldn't not fight either, so he kept going, even as he lost his favorite hammer when he threw it at Archaon and he missed, and it got sucked into a portal. This is canon. Or as Nagash finally gave him the skeletal finger, he still kept going. And that's when we get to the battle, and he missed, and it got sucked into a portal. This is canon. Or as Nagash finally gave him the skeletal finger, he still kept going. And that's when we get to the Battle of the All Points. So, across the realms, you might run into these things called realm gates, which...
Okay, wait. I feel like the hammer is such a iconic... It's literally the symbol of Warhammer. So I wonder if that's like a plot point that they are planning on coming back to or something. Like you see the hammer come into like Warhammer 40k world and they find it on a world. That'd be crazy. I don't know. But yeah, it seems kind of wild. That's not the case, and he just lost the hammer to a world gate. I don't know if
that's what created the Emperor.
He found it.
He found it.
Like Thor's hammer.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
and then he just became a god.
That'd be crazy. Oh man, this world is so just. Especially now that we're jumping into the Age of Sigmar, I'm like, I almost am questioning, like, should I even have jumped into this lore? Because it just seems so wild compared to what we already know in Warhammer 40k.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Yeah, I feel like I'm back to square root of kind of being a little bit confused, which I feel like we had just kind of got out of that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, man, you guys let me know your guys' thoughts. Your guys' comments are really going to help us kind of like iron all this stuff out, navigate, especially the difference between Age of Sigmar and the old world. Like that whole thing is definitely going to help. I know when we first got into the fantasy world and we came from Warhammer 40k, we got a pretty good understanding of what the fantasy world was, and they're just kind of two separate things. You know, this potential that, you know, later on they could say, oh, I don't know, whatever, old world is a world in the galaxy somewhere else, or, you know, they could do those things. But as far as now, I'm pretty sure that's not confirmed. But yeah, as far as like the ironing out, we would really, really, really appreciate it. Really.
Yeah, those gods are technically the old ones, like you said, right? Or still technically, the old ones.
No, those are the gods of
monsters.
Chaos. What are they called? No, remember the old ones are like the Khan and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
that Necrons fought.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, they're just
old world. Okay, old world, not old ones. My words are just flip flopped around.
Yeah, like they were from the old world.
Yeah.
The same gods. Mm-hmm. At least that's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is they destroyed the old world, and then Sigmar went wherever the fuck. He got found by this dragon, all this crazy shit happened.
Yeah.
And then the gods are like, yeah, nah, we're not done with you yet. Correct us if that's not right. So hopefully that is.
Are kind of like a magical subway system that allow you to travel from one part of the realm to the other, or even across realms entirely. This makes them a pretty big deal, and this makes a place like the All Points, which has 8 massive realm gates that each travel to one of the realms, a humongous deal. And exactly the kind of place that Archaon had set his beautiful, majestic, glowing eyes on. But we're right, yes. The Battle of the All Points. The true test of strength for the forces of order. They gathered their best warriors, sharpened their finest blades, wore their nicest shoes, and were completely stomped to bits. They just got completely rinsed. Which kinda killed Papa S's moods. So he took his ball, went home to Azir, and locked the doors behind him while Archaon and his mates continued partying in the mortal realms. And party they did for a very, very long time. And for a time, Sigmar just kinda walked around the house with his bathrobe and slippers on, not really knowing what to do. Chaos hadn't won yet, and there were still plenty of people holding out here and there, but it wasn't looking good. But then, one day, an idea struck him. He was pretty cracked, and he could easily slap demons. But he could only be at one place at once. So what if he technically managed to be at many places at once? During the centuries where Archaon and his mates were hanging out, Siggy would occasionally sneak a peek at the realms. And whenever he spotted some grand heroic figure still fighting chaos, he'd snatch them up just before they got murked. Then he'd put them in a tank's worth of armor, hand them a big bastion stick, infuse them with some of his special thunder juice, and bada bim bada boom, you have yourself a Stormcast Eternal. And once Sigmar had amassed enough dudes, he took them by the hand, gave them a pat on the head, and hurled them all across the mortal realms on giant bolts of lightning.
Huh?
So it's kind of like how the Emperor created the Primarchs, and then and they got sent to other worlds, which wasn't his fault, but like, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like a similar concept to that is what it sounded like. Oh no, Warhammer.
Giant beefcakes in metal armor suddenly just appearing out of thin air caught the forces of chaos a bit off guard, to put it lightly. And all across the realms, the Stormcast ripped and tore through demon and corrupted mortal alike. Countless realm gates were secured, cities and strongholds were recovered, and alliances were reforged. This was the start of Sigmar's grand counterattack, the Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, but I guess without having their own planet and fighting their own battles. He's just literally has his literally own army that's just going all in at once.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this wasn't a complete victory either. I mean, there wouldn't really be much of a game if all hostile forces were defeated, and it was instead called the Age of Friendship and Cuddles. Because, well, yes, this was a pretty harsh blow to Archaon and his gang, a pretty hefty chunk of the mortal realms were still under their control. And once they were recovered from being jumped by armored goons as if it were a fantasy fair mugging, they did manage to mount some proper defenses here and there. And that's not even getting into the hordes of orcs or undead, courtesy of that prick Nagash, which were also obviously a bit of a problem to deal with. But this is where I'm going to end things for today, because it is here where you can join in, where you can pick your factions and armies and fight for the fate of the mortal realms. Will you join Sigmar and the forces of Order in retaking the realms? Or will you join Chaos and party with Archaon and his broskies on the weekend? Will you seek to raise grand kingdoms of the dead in the name of Nagash? Or will you seek to tear it all down in the name of Dawa on the side of the orcs? The choice is yours. And if you like this chaotic little passion project of mine and want to see more, then make sure to like, subscribe, fully design, print and paint a custom miniature of myself and pray to it twice a day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Yeah. This is what makes me happy that we actually took notes when we're going through like all the Warhammer 40k, all of everything, because now it's like I can go back and check little specific points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And make sure I'm not getting names mixed up, because at points I still get a lot of names, like you were saying with the old ones, you know, like the original gods and stuff.
Yeah.
The whole concept of like there's so many different gods that are out in the universe. There's like the gods of chaos, you know, the gods of the warp, I'll say, actually. And then you have the old ones, which are like the old back in the day gods that got broken into the Catan shards and stuff like that by Necrons and all that good stuff. And then you have like the clowns, the Harlequins have their god that they praise to, and you know, all these different people have all these different gods, which I mean is not too much like Earth. Everyone has different gods that they praise and whatnot. It's just, yeah, it's different. It's difficult because it's like, for example, are the Harlequins god actually real, or is that just them? Like, I've never seen an image of them, you know what I mean? So I've never seen that actually kind of like quantified into a thing. So there's still so much that I haven't really like locked in my memory as far as like what they call that god or anything like that, because I still haven't seen it. So
yeah.
So there's definitely still a lot of pieces, like very pivotal pieces of the universe that I think need to be in place. Not saying Harlequin's god is pivotal or anything like that, but I think there's a bunch of important parts that I still need to lock in before it really makes sense to me. So these notes are nice because I just kind of keep adding to it, you know. So yeah, it's funny because Sigmar is like all the different storm. What did he call them? Yeah, I should have wrote that down. Over here talking about notes, I didn't even take good notes on Age of Sigmar. But whatever his storm knights were, is that what they're called?
Night storms.
Night. No, that sounds. I think that's backwards. Night storms. Yes, I think. I don't know. Whatever they're called.
The storms of nights.
They remind me of like the Adeptus Custodians. You know what I mean? That just guard the Emperor and they wear the all gold and stuff like that. It literally reminded me of that as well. So it makes it feel like this is kind of like recycled content now that we've went through it. Which, I mean, sure, do whatever you want. There's still Warhammer, so. But I think when you recycle like certain pieces like that are obviously so similar, but then you say that they're not connected, it's almost like, damn, so was it just laziness there, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In the Rhino, you couldn't think of something else. You could have made them like Silver Knights or something, or Diamond Knights, or just anything to try to make it feel like it was different so you don't get confused. That is one aspect of this Warhammer world. And I don't know if between Age of Sigmar, when they created that, between the old world and between Warhammer 40k, are all of these creative heads talking to each other, or are they just kind of like, hey, I'm in my own department doing my own thing? It's almost like Marvel Comics and Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, they're just kind of, I mean, even Marvel Rivals. Yeah. They're all just doing their own thing, you know what I'm saying? And they could benefit from, hey, what new comic series is going to come out? Okay, we're going to drop a new character on Marvel Rivals to match that comic, to hype you and you hype us. And they could be doing that, but I know that they don't. I talked to a lot of comic book shop owners and, you know, just people who work in the industry. We do write our own comics and do our own stuff. So I'm talking to a lot of people who are like, yeah, no, nobody's talking. We just get shit. You know what I mean?
Display it and sell it.
Yeah, display it and sell it. And we worry about our own part of the industry. So, so yeah, I wonder how it is with Warhammer and if they talk to each other. So.
I'll tell you this: they haven't done the AI self promotion, so I think they're doing okay.
I like League of Legends.
Like League of Legends.
That was just that was one mistake. We only gotta talk about it. That's a crazy one. I think I'm gonna end up rewinding this actually and taking a couple more notes. I mean, off camera or whatever. But yeah, I feel like that was he was right. A little bit of a chaotic guide. He did put that in the intro. So I'm interested to jump more into Age of Sigmar. But yeah, I might do a little bit of research and then figure out if I should jump back to the old world first. Yeah, the next video we're going to be watching is the timeline of the old world in 20 minutes. So maybe we should have watched those in reverse. But once we watch that timeline video, I feel like that will fill in a lot of the gaps for us. And that's by Arbiter Ian. So yeah, if you guys want to see us kind of have a lot of epiphanies and stuff with that one, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. Like I said, make sure to definitely, like it if you want to. I don't care. But comment down below and let us know so we can just move forward with this whole lore diving discovery. We do a lot of that on this channel, whether it's Marvel lore, whether it's League of Legends, whether it's Warhammer, and then many more things are coming in the future. So
thank you guys for being here and watching this video with us. And until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Adios, y'all. Peace.